You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
You can't not mention my name. As you said, I'm the next best thing. I am the best thing, I think it's quite funny that it feels like she's the only one calling for the Kate Taylor fight, the Amanda Serrano fight. Nobody's interested in that fight. They're interested in Karen Dubois versus Alicia Baumgardner. And that's because I'm the biggest name. I've built myself up. I've achieved everything that I've achieved in a short space of time. And I think that's what triggers her. I think the fact that I'm 25 years old, she's 32 years old. She's coming to the end. She's trying to, I saw an interview where she said she would love to do WWE. And I'm not trying to dig anyone that's involved in that, but as a prime athlete in the middle of your prime, you're not going to see David Benavidez in the middle of his prime saying he wants to switch over to WWE. You're not going to see Terence Crawford do that. You're not going to see any of these legit champions do that. Only someone who's coming towards the end of their career. They're seeing the end. They're seeing the closing curtains. That's the vibe that I get. And she's trying to cash out. And I think she's trying to transition into the diva that she wants to be. But that doesn't coincide with being a world champion, being in the middle of your prime and taking on all challenges. I think she's threatened massively by me. I think she's intimidated by me. And I think she's seriously afraid of me. I think it upsets her that I'm so young. I'm 25 years old and I'm doing what I did at 25, something she could never do and will never do. And it's a shame. I'm sorry that women didn't have the opportunity, but this is the Karen Dubois time, and I'm so blessed and lucky to be 25 in 2026. Like, I know that burns her inside, that I have so much potential. My ceiling is a million miles higher than what she could ever even imagine. And I think it upsets her. That's why she keeps trying to downplay me and disrespect the younger women, because she sees someone who is there going to take her over and just completely, she comes and fights me. That's end. That's the end of Alicia Baumgardner. And she knows that. That is the complete end. Her whole image is built on being this bad, type of woman, this bad girl in the ring, inside and outside the ring. I go in there and I smash up her face and bash her up, which I know I will do. Everything is completely gone. Everything is completely eradicated. That image has to end. And then the Alicia Baumgardner train comes to a smashing halt.
I think a lot of what Carolyn said is just downright stupid. But she understands the assignment and knows what she's doing. She's going to say whatever to get a rise out of Alicia, to get a rise out of her supporters, to, in effect, build the fight and garner more positive attention on herself and more negative attention on Alicia. She knows what she's doing. And it's working. So what she said still sounds stupid to me, because Alicia Baumgardner didn't start off her career with the red carpet rolled out for her like Carolyn did. Maybe you did win a world title a bit earlier than she did, but you started off on a major platform, boxing under a major promotional outfit, so of course you got there a little bit sooner. Where she started off on the chicken gizzard circuit and still made it to the top, still made it to the forefront of the division and the sport. Some people might call that admirable. She beat Terry Harper as the underdog and the away fighter. In doing so, did a better job on Terry than you did, because she stopped her. You didn't. Claiming that the day they fight, she's gonna smash Alicia Baumgardner's face. Listen, sweetheart, you didn't smash Terry's face. Terry was fine after the fight. So was Bomi Ray Shin. Alicia hurt them both more times than you did, where you claim she's an old woman. So we can talk about the nature of the beef and what's really behind it. How Carolyn is only really acting as Clarissa Shields' little attack dog. You want a Scooby snack? I'm convinced that if a fight between Alicia and Carolyn happens anywhere in between a year and a half to 2 years' time, Alicia outclasses her. Carolyn is not as good a boxer as Alicia, but it doesn't matter if I say it. Alicia's got to do it, and that's the fact of the matter. She's doing herself a great disservice putting off this fight to chase around two fighters in the twilight years of their careers that likely won't give her the time of day. That's where Carolyn is getting a leg up on Alicia. I'm seeing more and more of an outpouring of support for Carolyn pursuing Alicia than Alicia pursuing Amanda or pursuing Katie. That's the one thing that Carolyn said that she wasn't wrong about. This is the fight that has captured the boxing community's attention, not those fights, even if they're bigger names.
Doesn't matter if you don't get the fights.
This is the one that people want, and too often in the sport of boxing, the boxers and their teams ignore fan demand when that's what fuels the sport, not your own personal preferences. It's not about what you and your manager think is bigger, it's about what we want, because you're the one trying to sell us a product. We can either buy it or not.
That's where Carolyn has a leg up on Alicia. Every week and every month that this fight doesn't happen, every year, Alicia's stock plummets.
She's got to take care of this young whippersnapper. She's got to make her eat her words. Because for as much as Carolyn is talking about how Alicia can't afford to lose, she can't either. You're talking more shit than a little bit, my friend.
You talked all that hot shit to Terry Harper and underperformed.
Better on the night, but not that much of a level above. Against Alicia, I think Alicia beats her comfortably. What does Carolyn do if she loses?
Alicia needs to take advantage of this moment now that Carolyn has captured the boxing world's attention on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean, those who support her and those who don't.
All the same, they're watching, and that's all the ingredients for a super fight. Not chasing around faded legends on the eve of retirement.
You're gonna keep letting this little girl disrespect you?
Drag your name in the mud on every interview and every podcast. Get in there and show her what for. Shut her up!
Nobody had issues with Al Haymon abusing the Ali Act. You're also shook from this reality that you won't even talk about. I'll talk about it. I'll tell you what Al Haymon was doing. Al Haymon was paying you, and then on the side, he was paying you double. All right? That's why nobody had an issue with it. He wasn't fighting the Ali Act. He was paying you more than what you probably deserved. Okay, so we're not going to have a problem with a guy overpaying us, and then on top of it, not fighting the Ali Act. Granted, okay, the Ali Act wasn't disclosed the way it is. It needs more teeth. You want to take Al Haymon to court when he's paying? You know he's paying. If you took Al Haymon to court for the Ali Act, you would have lost money, you moron, because the guy was paying you more than what you were generating on the Ali Act. Think, McFly. Think.
Hey, Paulie.
Yeah, no, because I really, like, sometimes they're really smart in their comments, and once in a while you get a complete idiot that I feel stupid at reading his comments because I feel like I got dumber from having read it, you know? Especially when I know the tidbits they don't know, you know? Because I lived it. Go ahead.
Paulie Malignaggi basically confirmed what I've been telling you all along, that upon the inception of the PBC, Al Haymon was overpaying those fighters well in excess of their market value.
But it wasn't out of the kindness of his own heart. Don't be naive.
How do you think he got all of those fighters who were fighting under the Golden Boy Promotions banner to migrate over to his PBC? He promised them big money, more money than they were actually worth at the time, so that when they got there,
He overpaid them.
not just because he wanted to make good on his word either, but he had to prevent those fighters from going elsewhere and being used by another promoter, like a Golden Boy or a Top Rank. To keep all the talent in-house, he burnt through a lot of cash and, in effect, paid a lot of fighters a lot of money that they weren't good for.
To get them to come over, and once they came over, to prevent them from leaving.
So that if you're acknowledging Al overpaid these guys, you then have to acknowledge he created the inflation that you see now. Because if you're paying these guys multi-millions to fight jobbers, just imagine what you're gonna have to pay them to fight somebody decent.
The moon and the stars.
That's the cat that Paulie Malignaggi just let out of the bag. Yeah, Al was overpaying those fighters, but it wasn't without consequences. The influx of pay-per-views that you see now was originally spearheaded by Al Haymon and his fat and happy fighters, who were getting too much money to fight jobbers, and they wanted even more to fight real fighters.
Now, you could argue that the Zone has very much picked up where Al Haymon left off, but all they're doing is adapting to the environment that he created.
The climate, a $500 million cash injection he got from Waddle and Reed into the boxing space that created all of the instability that you see now and rising costs.
I wouldn't call that a good thing.
And there is no such thing as a free lunch because you fucked off all of that investor money. That's not even counting what you fucked off from Fox and what else you fucked off from Showtime.
Paulie thinks that it's a good thing that a lot of fighters got a lot more money than they were actually worth Maybe that was good for them individually, but it wasn't good for the industry, because look at it now. Also accenting what I told you, the fighters don't care. They always want more money. It's always supposed to work out to where they get more money, whether they're good for it or not. That doesn't make for a sustainable business. Why do you think NBC left? And Fox, and Showtime, and Spike?
Chalk it up to short-term gains that had long-term consequences for the entire industry that we're still feeling now.
And what else did Paulie acknowledge? That Al was violating the Muhammad Ali Act, like I've been saying. You had to catch it.
Yeah, he spilled those beans too.
Yeah, but didn't he also say that he wasn't trying to fight it, like the people at Zuffa?
Well, he didn't have to. The Ali Act, as it is very easy to circumvent. It's easy to get around it. How do you think he did it? For so many years, he didn't have to fight it. Operating under the nebulous term of being an advisor, when in reality, he was acting as both manager and promoter, managing fighters and brokering deals
Like a promoter would.
with various networks and his willing participants that made up the PBC stable that weren't going to go against him since they were getting overpaid.
He fucked the game up.
So if you ever find yourself complaining about the rising cost of being a boxing fan, you can thank Al Haymon, like so many of his fighters used to, in the glory days of the PBC.
That have long since passed.
Let me break it down for you, because I don't actually care that he fucked off all of Waddle and Reed's money, or all of that network money. What I do care about is the effect that it had on the market, an adverse effect that we are still feeling.
Let me make it even more simple for you.
You guys probably don't feel it because you don't pay for any goddamn thing, while claiming to care so much about the fighters you're stealing from.
Whenever you watch a pay-per-view on an illegal stream, who do you think you're stealing from?
The fighters. So of course you're not feeling the same pinch that an actual customer would. That boxing has become far too expensive to watch, and that's a part of the reason the audience is shrinking.
Shrinking? It shrunk.
Rising costs have done more to discourage people from watching boxing because it's become more expensive to watch than most mainstream sports.
Saying Al Haymon.
Because he's the reason the sport costs so much to watch now, and he's a big part of the reason so many networks walked away.
And when you and I were younger, there was boxing every weekend on ABC, CBS, and at times NBC. If you look at it now, the major media conglomerates, outside of the deal we at Zuffa were able to get with Paramount, there's no boxing in the history of television on any major media conglomerate. Fox got out, ESPN got out, Showtime got out, HBO got out, NBC got out, ABC got out, CBS got out, what was formerly known as Spike TV got out.
Now, you came from the media and entertainment world before. Why did they get out?
They got out because ultimately there was no return on their investment. The fights that were meant to happen, so we mentioned, Senator Rosen mentioned Mayweather-Pacquiao earlier happening in Las Vegas. That fight took 6 years to put together. For the Ali-Frazier trilogy, those 3 fights happened over the course of 5 years. The 3 fights happened.
5 years, ladies and gentlemen. And that formula has since been applied to other fights like Crawford versus Spence that also took 5 years to make.
5 years too late for ESPN to stay in the sport. 5 years too late for Showtime.
Because in the 5 years that it's taking to finally put together, what kind of content are you providing your broadcast partner? And are they getting a return on their investment in the interim? The short answer is no.
It's literally what Nick Khan said, but some people don't want to acknowledge that, like a guy who goes by the name Ryan who said, "It's called evolving, adjusting to the current time and climate of the sport. Each of those channels had multi-great years showcasing boxing, and now we are into the streaming app era. That's all. Nick's acting like them companies bailed because boxing failed."
That's because it did. You're just in denial about it. When Chris McCarthy, the co-CEO of Paramount, said they're going to be axing anything that accounts for less than 10% of Showtime's overall viewership.
How do you think the PBC ended up on the chopping block?
Network television isn't hard to understand. Anything that's bringing big views to a platform, they're going to invest in, and anything that isn't gets the axe. And when I told people it would happen more than 3 years ago, they didn't want to believe me, so that they could still be in denial about it now. Oh, it's evolution.
Yeah, because a network is going to get rid of content that's bringing them views. Does that make sense?
Don't ask these guys rhetorical questions because they don't know what the word rhetorical means. So many networks like Fox and Showtime and NBC were willing to let boxing go because they weren't getting a return on their investment. If they were, they would have stayed. It's not complicated. You just want it to be so we don't blame Al.
And so that it's not boxing's fault. You want the existing framework to continue even though it's failing.
Where every fighter seems to think that they're top billing and belongs on pay-per-view asking for money that they can't cover.
Where sanctioning bodies mass-produce trinket titles to collect that many more sanctioning fees from that many more fighters, in effect, watering down the sport and making it too confusing for the casual observer.
When I see 2, 3, 4 guys running around with different versions of a WBA title at the same weight,
Don't forget about the WBC.
you want that to continue, even though boxing was much bigger when that wasn't the case, when that wasn't going on, when it was more affordable to the common man.
You want it to keep getting more expensive.
I've long maintained that those standing against the Revival Act don't actually know what it is because they're too lazy to read through the literature and the positive effect that it could have on the landscape. All they focus on is the formation of UBOs.
The Zuffa stuff, the Dana White stuff, because that's the only iota of this they can sort of understand. And they still struggle with that.
Zuffa isn't going to monopolize the sport of boxing. It's too big for any one entity to control it all.
If that's what you're afraid of.
If what you're afraid of is that Zuffa's going to come into the space and take advantage of the fighters, that's been going on long before Zuffa came into it. So you either didn't notice or didn't care.
If what you're afraid of is the Ali Revival Act changing the landscape in which boxing operates, well, maybe it needs to, because the audience is shrinking and the networks are withdrawing. That can't be good for the sport's profile. The house is on fire, and what's your solution? To turn down the thermostat?
A lot of you guys really don't know how stupid you sound, how stupid you are, because boxing's existing framework is failing. Now, you have a large conglomerate of major promoters all converging on the DAZN platform, which some would look at as a plus.
Getting that much boxing from one place at one price, in some ways it's a positive, but there's another side to that coin, because what happens if DAZN falters, if DAZN goes under?
Where do all those promoters go? The major networks don't seem interested in picking up boxing content. Do you see a lot of people actually signing up for DAZN's Ultimate tier? Over $400 up front just for a bit of boxing? It's insanity.
The influx of pay-per-views that they are now doing on that platform, not even counting what the PBC's been doing on Amazon Prime. Who's supposed to be able to afford this?
To where if you can't acknowledge that there's something wrong with boxing's existing framework, you're either dumb or in denial. Boxing isn't even a mainstream sport anymore, but it's many times more expensive to watch than the ones that are, and something does need to change. Now, I don't know that Zuffa or the Revival Act is the answer, but as a longtime boxing fan, I'm willing to give it a shot. It can't be any worse than what we've been seeing.
What some of you guys out there choose not to see.
Because you're either dumb or in denial. It's one or the other.